You do kind of look like that.
With the sleeveless shirt.
The sleeveless shirt. Yes, yes. Now your hair needs to be a little longer, but yeah. And then, like, you got to do the sound effects. He wants these sleeveless shirts hung up and retired in the bar. That's so good. All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since our last episode, but with one of our teams in the Super Bowl, it ain't my team, we had to get an episode out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, James, how are you feeling? How has this postseason run felt to you? Does it feel similar to 2017 or 2022?
First of all, we had a nice, I don't want to say easy road. There's no such thing as like an easy road in the playoffs, but I think they had an easier path than they could have had. So the game I was least confident about was the Packers. So after they played that game decently well, I felt good about the rest of them, especially like once the Commanders beat the Lions, I knew they were going to the Super Bowl. I was 100% confident. And I actually am like kind of embarrassed by how like calm and confident I am about this Super Bowl.
Really? Okay, so let's get into that. Let's talk matchups here.
Yeah.
I actually do think, I don't know if you saw my pick on my blog, and I won't reveal my pick just yet in case you haven't seen it. And for the listeners, I actually do think that this is I think this is a pretty even matchup. Yeah, but I do think the Eagles, I almost said the Phillies, the Eagles have a slight advantage in this matchup. What about you?
Yeah. Let me first start by saying, like, I completely respect Mahomes and Andy Reid, and if they won this game, like, wouldn't be remotely shocked. It's not that. I just think if you take away the mystique, which I get you can't do in real life, but if you just kind of put it in a vacuum, I think the Eagles are just way better. I mean, way better. I really, really do. Way better. So
why is that?
Well, I mean, first of all, number one defenses are 10-2 in the Super Bowl. They just they show up very well. I think the Eagles are going to be very fast on this field down in the Superdome, and I don't think outside of Xavier Worthy, the Chiefs are going to be fast. I think they have more of like a slow, powerful team. Another thing that makes me feel really good, the Eagles played the two best passers this year in Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, both away. They paid them both at their place and dominated them. I mean, neither one of them scored 20 points. That makes me feel really good. I don't think Travis Kelce is what he used to be. I understand he might go for 100 yards and a touchdown tomorrow. In fact, I expect him to go for like 75 and a touchdown. So that's not disrespect to him, but like, I don't think he's like necessarily scaring me, especially with how Bond and Cooper have been playing in the middle. I think Slay on D-Hop is a great matchup for us. I think they're both kind of older, slower players, and I think that'll be fine. I think our DNs or our edge rushers will be able to get pressure because their tackles haven't been that good.
I'm so glad you corrected yourself there.
Yeah. The edges, I just think, and they're going to stack the box to try to stop Barkley. First of all, that still might not work. It just might not work. It hasn't worked for anyone else. Everyone's been stacking the box since probably week 6 to stop Saquon. He does what he wants. But let's say they stop him. If you want to go man on the outside, I mean, A.J. Brown is the best man coverage receiver in the entire NFL. He's first in every category every single year. Jalen Hurts will have a big game if they want to do that. So, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I usually am a Jalen Hurts hater. But it's just, like I said, if you brought somebody down that didn't know the sport and they just looked at these teams, they'd say, wow, the Chiefs played a lot of close games and they can obviously win those games. But the Eagles look like a more dominant team. And I don't even think that's arguable. So if the Eagles play a good game tomorrow, which I think they will, Brandon Graham's coming back. It's his last game ever. He's an Eagles legend. I just think there's a lot of things that are emotionally playing in the Eagles position or side. I think the stadium is going to be 75-25. Who's going to like the 6th Chiefs Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Like they've already been. Eagles fans travel well. I keep seeing all the beat reporters say it's 75-25 down there. I just think a lot of things are playing in the Eagles' favor. And listen, I don't want to give a score prediction, but I've kind of stuck with this. You've probably seen me tweet it. I think the Chiefs are either going to win a close game or the Eagles are going to win by like 8-12.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up.
Can I say one more thing too?
Yeah,
because I think this is just as important. I don't think the Eagles are afraid of the Chiefs. One, they went toe-to-toe in the last Super Bowl and they lost, but they played the Chiefs in Arrowhead last year and beat them. So there's not necessarily that like, oh, holy shit, dude, we just can't beat these guys. Every time we play them, they beat us by 3 points. They beat that team last year with a worse team without Saquon, worse defense. So I don't think they're going to go into this game and play as tight as like the Ravens like to play or the Chiefs like to play, or even Kyle Shanahan coaches in a lot of these Super Bowls. They just get really tight. And I don't know if that's going to happen to the Eagles as much. So I think a lot of things are playing into the Eagles' favor. And I think this is the hardest Super Bowl the Chiefs have played.
That's a really good point about the scare factor. Because I think any other NFC team might, piss down their leg at playing the Chiefs.
I agree, man.
So I never even thought about that. But yeah, when I look at this matchup, it all starts in the trenches. And I think between Philadelphia's defensive front and Kansas City's offensive line, I think Philadelphia has an advantage there.
Slightly,
now, their pass rush has kind of been inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And Fangio isn't one to bring pressure. So if they can get pressure with 4, that's obviously ideal. But I could also see a scenario if that pass rush doesn't show up and Mahomes has all the time in the world, that's going to be a huge problem. On the other side,
that's what happened the last time they played. Yeah. If you recall, second half they couldn't even get close to him, and I don't know if a ball touched the ground second half. Yeah. So
on the other side, I think it's a little bit more even between Kansas City's defensive front and Philly's offensive line. I still think I would give Philly the advantage there.
Maybe,
but Spagnuolo is going to send pressure,
mm-hmm.
and can they keep Hurts in the pocket? That's a big question with me. I think they can. And if they do, I think that's going to benefit the Chiefs quite a bit.
Of course.
Then, you expand outward between Philadelphia's secondary and Kansas City's, let's call it pass catchers. I think Philadelphia might have an advantage there.
They do.
I think Quinion Mitchell and Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean can clamp down on these guys, Kansas City's pass catchers. Obviously, this is a stupid thing to say, but I think Travis Kelce's probably going to be an X factor in this game. If he gets going, Philadelphia's going to have to change up their looks in the secondary a little bit. Yep. If he's non-existent, I have a hard time seeing Kansas City winning this game.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I think Kansas City's a little bit more vulnerable in the back end than Philadelphia is against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. So that's why I say, all in all, I think this is a pretty favorable matchup for the Eagles, or a slightly favorable matchup for the Eagles. But it's still kind of even. And this is a stupid thing to say, but when it's even, I defer to coaching.
Of course.
And this is where, and look, I'm a Nick Sirianni defender. I think we both are. But this is where having a coach like him, I think, is a disadvantage for Philly, because he's not going to have a huge impact on the game apart from the game plan leading up to it. We've said it before. He's a rah-rah, motivator. Sure, the Eagles will be ready to play, but it's also the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he's not going to have an impact on the game itself when the clock is ticking. That's going to defer to Fangio and Kellen Moore. And between Andy Reid and Vic Fangio, who Andy Reid, by the way, does call the plays for Kansas City, between Reid and Fangio, I'm giving that advantage to Reid. Between Spagnuolo and Kellen Moore, I'm giving that advantage to Spagnuolo. So that's what I made a big point. I made a big point about that on my blog. I also talked about, I broke down like strengths and weaknesses, and I didn't even get into like the strength of Kansas City's offense or either side of the ball. I got into just their infrastructure. I was like, this is their, 6th Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I know the GM doesn't have a huge impact on it.
Yes,
in the game.
it's their 5th. My bad.
5th? Okay. the GM doesn't have a huge impact on the games. He just puts the team together. But just between their GM and front office, head coach, roster that's been here more times than it can count, or 5 times.
Yeah.
That's just a huge advantage. They're not going to be they're not going to be there's nothing in this game that could happen that's going to rattle them.
Yeah, of course.
If they fall behind a couple touchdowns, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to have to get this some way, and they're not going to panic. And, on the other side, I think Philadelphia is more likely to panic.
Yeah.
So I say all that. It's all pretty standard, which is why, I'm going to go ahead and reveal my pick. I did take the Chiefs.
That's fair.
I didn't want to do it. I almost sent it to you, but I knew we were going to podcast, and I was going to say sorry, bud, but I just didn't have.
Like I said, who would I be, to argue with somebody who's picking the back-to-back champs? I totally get that. I think this game's going to come down to physicality. I think this team is 10 times more physical than that 2022 team. I think the 2022 team got pushed around a little bit on on defense.
Which team is more physical? It might be Philly.
I agree, and I think that's going to play dividends. And at the end of the day, I think there's kind of one way for the Chiefs to win, and I think that there's a lot of ways for Philly to win. And the Chiefs' way is like that kryptonite for everybody, so maybe they get it done again. But that's the only way they can win. They're not going to go out there tomorrow and get a bunch of explosive plays. They're not going to run the ball for 5.5 yards a clip. It's going to be Pat Mahomes, ding, 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 all night.
That's been their formula all year. They're not going to go against it. It's worked for them. One thing I did note on my blog is, I think what I said for their weakness was, I think luck is their weakness right now. They've played 12 one-possession games in the regular season and the postseason. They've won every single one.
Yeah, they're 17-0 in their last 17.
That luck has to run out eventually.
I know, and it's like everyone's like, oh, that means they win. Of course it does, but it's like, dude, you're going to lose a game. Like you're
eventually,
dude. I'll just tell you one right now, dude. The Broncos had a game-winning 38-yard field goal, and they blocked it. Like that game would have been, their one loss. They had the game against the Raiders, if you remember. They could have either tied it with a field goal or won with a touchdown.
There were a lot of those this year.
Snapped the ball right into Aiden O'Connell's chest, and they got the ball back. Like, there's a lot of times where they could have lost it in luck. Like, it was true luck, not Pat Mahomes did his thing, because he usually does. Literal luck. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm not even going to lie to you, man. Like, I can't say they lucked out with that. They got the one play they needed in the last Super Bowl they played, which was that fumble. And I don't want to say it's luck, but it bounced right into Nick Bolton's hands as he was sprinting the other way. Like, I mean, it was like, I don't know, man. Like, if the Eagles don't turn that ball over there, they're probably up 3 scores. So
I remember that game. I was watching it, obviously, and I remember texting you, and I was like, hey, I feel good about this. And I remember you saying, nope, I don't, not after that play. Because didn't the Eagles have a 10-point lead at halftime?
Yes, and I'm telling you, they were driving on that. I mean, it was just, dude, they had no problem moving the ball all night. It doesn't mean that they would have scored, who knows, but.
And I remember you saying, that game just completely turned the tide, and you were right. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. It was a fluke play, whatever. And we were both kind of right, but you obviously ended up being the correct one. One thing I did note was 12-0 in one-score games. In 6 of those games, so half, the Chiefs were either outgained or lost the turnover margin. Like, that shouldn't happen. That's
what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I swear you can never put percentages on this or anything, but teams just get tight against that team late. And I don't think Philly's going to be tight late. I really don't. I don't think Jalen is the type to get tight, but sometimes he doesn't have the talent to make the play that he needs to make, but like, he doesn't get scared. They've all been there before. The whole offensive line's been there before. Both of the receivers been there before. All the defense are a bunch of young guys, so I don't think they're afraid. It's just I like our mental matchup against them. I think it's even, because usually it's Chiefs 90, the other team 10. I think maybe it's 60.
Like even Chiefs. Last year, the Niners,
they were 10 points with 7 minutes left.
There before.
They're
but
scared.
The Niners had I think a big mental block in that game, because that was kind of it for them. Like, it was either that year or it probably wasn't going to happen, as we saw this year. And they had also lost, but the way that they had lost that game, I feel like was more demoralizing than the way the Eagles lost in 2022. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some people would disagree.
No, dude, they won on basically a walk-off. There was like, what, 2 seconds left? But, I mean, they got a game.
No, I meant in 2019 when they met in the
Super Bowl. One too. I mean, they were still up in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's just that stuff gets you, man. And you saw it. I mean, the Eagles did that in 2022, and 2023 sucked, man. They won some games, but then they collapsed because it was just mentally they were just – it does a lot to you mentally. That's why tomorrow is so big, man, because if they don't win this game, next year is going to suck for us, and that sucks.
And
so
I'm not one of those people, James, you know me. I'm not one of those people that argues like, oh, they've won every one-score game. That's going to benefit them in the playoffs. Yeah. I say usually that luck turns the other way in the playoffs. And it hasn't yet for Kansas City. It might not. You know, sometimes luck just changes year to year instead of, you know, regular season to postseason.
Yeah.
But it does just feel like their year. As much as you don't want to hear that, I felt that way. I felt that way since the Christmas game against Pittsburgh. When that game happened and they kicked Pittsburgh's ass, I was like, oh, they're going to go on a run here.
It's just, and like I said, you know, I'm usually pessimistic, and I will be when the game's on and all that shit. I just don't see it, man.
If the Chiefs go down and like just kick a field goal on the opening drive, you're going to be like, it's so over.
100%. I mean, that's how I cope during games. I always say the game's over, but I'm telling you, man, like clear eyes right now. Like, I just don't see it. I don't fucking see it. What is Pat Mahomes? Like, do you think our team is just going to let them dump 5-yard passes all game and score? The Eagles are only going to have to score 30 points. If they score 30 points, they win. I don't care.
What's the over-under right now? 48.5 still?
Yes, it's going over.
I said under. I think both defenses are going to keep this in the under.
No. Dude, the Eagles just scored 55 points. And I know they're not going to score 55 on the Chiefs. But like,
a lot of that had to do with turnovers.
Dude, stop with the Spagnuolo shit. Go look at Jalen's game logs against Spagnuolo. He's played them just fine. He played them his rookie year, threw for like 370 yards, killed it in the Super Bowl, and then he beat him last year. Like, Spagnuolo's defenses are overrated. Pat Mahomes wins the games, and then he makes a couple timely calls. I'm not tripping on Spagnuolo. Vic's called a more dominant defense than him this year. They don't have a dominant defense. They have a collective unit that plays well together. But like, I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of Chris Jones. That's it. Yeah. Trent McDuffie, just don't throw over there. And I'll tell you right now, if AJ Brown's on him, he's fucking head tapping him. So I don't see it. I don't see it.
There was something else I wanted to mention. It was Kansas City's defense. You're going to make fun of me because you just went on a rant about Spagnuolo. Excluding weeks 1 and 18, their defense has allowed just 91 rushing yards per game, 3.9 yards per attempt. If they're able to slow Saquon Barkley down, that's
they've gotten ran on the last two playoff games. The 100 yards is just an arbitrary number. They've gotten ran against yards per carry wise the last 2 games. That's true. We had a significant. The thing about our O-line, it's not that they're that good at run blocking. They are, but it's more of they're fucking huge, Shane. Our 2 guards are 6'6", 360 pounds. That's our guards. Those are 2 tackles. Jordan Mailata is the biggest man in the NFL. Lane Johnson's a Hall of Fame. It's just, that's why I keep saying like, oh, we're going to stop Saquon. It's like, if they get their hands on you and move you out of the way, you're not going to stop Saquon. Everyone's tried to stop Saquon. It's not like the Chiefs have the best run defense in the league or anything. Saquon fucking ran all over the number 1 rush defense in the league, which was the Ravens at home. I don't see it, dude. Yes, maybe they play out of their mind because it's the Super Bowl and it's the Chiefs, and obviously that could happen. But if they both play well, the Eagles are going to beat them. I'm telling you.
I think that's fair.
They scored 55 fucking points in the championship game.
You've said that twice now.
They're rolling, dude. They're rolling.
You've said that twice now. I think you have to factor in how many extra possessions they had in that game because of turnovers. I hear you, but Kansas City's not going to turn the ball over that many times. Highly unlikely. They force
the fumbles, though. How do you know? If you get peanut punched, you get peanut punched, and the ball goes to the ground. Like, it is what it is. I don't see it, man.
All right.
I don't see it.
So you're going with your Eagles.
Yeah, I am. I don't even want to give a score prediction, but I'm telling you, I feel good. Now, like I said, maybe Pat Mahomes goes Super Saiyan like he does and they win. I'm giving that up, but I don't see him having like a 250-yard, 2-touchdown passing game and then winning this game. Don't see it.
I'll say this. I'm very bad at picking Super Bowls. I've correctly picked 2 or 3 in 9 years of my blog. I
want to say something else. The underdog has won 6 out of the last 10.
Yeah, I believe that. So 2016, I picked New England over Atlanta. I got that right. And then New England over the Rams, got that one right. And then I didn't get another one right until last year, Chiefs over Niners. So I'm not great at picking Super Bowls. That's 9 years. So not counting this one, but I'm not very good at it. So there's a good chance that the Eagles are going to win this game.
I mean,
because of that.
I don't know, man. I think the fact that they are more physically talented, marginally, but they're more physically talented team, and I don't think they're going to play. I think the Chiefs have like a 60-40 mental advantage compared to what they usually have, which might be 100-0 compared to, when they play the Bills or it just seems like the other team always makes a shitty play when they need to against the Chiefs. And
I agree with that. And can we talk about, hang on. Are you as annoyed? You haven't really talked about it that much. Are you as annoyed as I am with all this? Oh, Chiefs get all the calls narrative.
I think it's
really hate it.
I think it's definitely overblown. I am kind of in the middle about it because a lot of people keep making like, oh, well, the Chiefs are actually in the middle of the pack. And we both know that the time that a penalty is called is what makes it an impactful penalty or not. Yeah. It does seem like every 50-50 call does go to them, but I'll give you an example. I think Xavier Worthy called it when they all came down with it, and everyone was like, "Oh, it hit the ground!" Like he caught that. Xavier Worthy caught that ball. You saw it; his hands were around it. He had the white gloves on. Like he caught that ball. People were bitching about that. The Josh Allen thing. I think that they should have given it to him because you could tell where the ball was, but you couldn't see where the ball was. So they called it short on the field, so they couldn't really overturn it. Like you had to kind of guess where the ball was because his back was turned to it and they had the line going. So it's like I do think it's a little overblown, but I do also think Pat Mahomes does get pretty much any hitting call. Like if you hit Pat Mahomes, they usually call it, which sucks.
It's it's honest to goodness. I know we're a couple of years removed from the Patriots dynasty. It's not much different than that.
No,
it's really not.
Of course not. And how can you blame them? Like they don't want Pat Mahomes getting hit in his knees and shit. I totally get that, but it's just like I get it both sides, but it's definitely not they're rigging it for the Chiefs.
No, I hate that argument. I
don't believe that. I do think, I don't know. I won't pay a lot of credence to it. Like I'm not going to go into this game tomorrow. Like Sean McDermott and the Bills lost as soon as he said that in the locker room. You lost. Don't say that to your team. What's wrong with you?
Lost.
We're not going to get any calls today. We got why would you say that? Like, why would you say that to your team? That's loser shit. So, Nick Sirianni won't do that.
No, I don't like that argument. There was something else I wanted to talk about.
Oh, by the way, it's Saquon's birthday tomorrow. It's fate.
Is it really?
It's fate. Come on.
Man, that would be a sucky birthday if they lost.
Yeah, right. And Cooper DeJean's birthday is tomorrow. It's fate.
Yeah.
By the way,
my pick's already finalized, but
no, it's fine
to reconsider. I want to talk real quick about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We've made our Super Bowl picks now. Pro Football Hall of Fame had just 4 inductees. I was really surprised by that. And it was Eric Allen from Philadelphia, and I know Sterling Sharp from Green Bay, which was
Jared Allen, I believe.
Jared Allen, and then there was one more. I've forgotten. Oh, Antonio Gates.
By the way,
are you as shocked as I am that Eli Manning didn't get inducted?
Not as a first ballot. I think a lot of them.
I hear you there.
I think a lot probably put their foot in the sand and's like, listen, we'll let him in the Hall of Fame, but he's not going to be a first ballot. I bet a lot of writers kind of said that. Luke Kuechly is a first ballot Hall of Famer, though.
Well,
I don't care about longevity. I don't care. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. It is what it is. So I
hear you about longevity, but that's kind of typical. If you look at the voting pattern of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they are very lenient. Like, look at the other leagues and how they handle longevity. in the NFL. The NFL is very lenient, as they should be. But they usually are like, look, you're going to get in, but you're going to have to wait.
I think that's what they did with Eli, and I think that's fair.
But I was really surprised that Eli Manning did not get inducted. I when I saw the list, I was like, I was looking at the NFL or maybe Pro Football Hall of Fame like Twitter feed, and they only had 4. I was like, man, they're really lagging on this. Where's Eli Manning? And then I looked and I was like, oh shit, he didn't get in. And I was really surprised by that. And I've had my friend Snotty chirping in my ear about how it's a travesty and whatnot. And I didn't say anything, but I was like, is it though? Is it? I don't know. I'm in the middle of both camps with Eli Manning. Like, if you look at his career, it wasn't that great outside of 2 Super Bowl runs. But you can't take that away from him at the same time.
I think this is a fact. When he gets in, because he will get in, he will be the least talented Hall of Famer in the entire thing. He will have the worst resume if you take away Super Bowls, because I get that gets quarterbacks in. It's like I get that, but like if you just took that away, because that's the team accomplishment. As much as I do like to give that to quarterbacks, like he's not even the Hall of very good. Like he had a very like slightly above average career outside of the Super Bowls.
It's similar to like Joe Namath is in the Hall of Fame, and if you look at his numbers, they're really not that good.
Yes, I agree. That's a good comparison. Like, you got to let him in because people kind of say like it's corny, but I agree with it. Like, if you can't tell the story of football without him, you got to put him in. And Eli Manning, like pivotal in that. Like he's going to get in, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame talent. I think you need to have like 4 to 7 first team all pros, and he doesn't have any. So
no MVPs. I think he made the Pro Bowl
a few times. Like he had a couple decent years in like the very early Giant years. I think they had like a couple 12-win teams early on, but like
I think he was probably a top 5 or 6 quarterback early on in his career.
Yeah, I agree.
For a 3-year stretch, and then he got passed over by like Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers and a couple other guys. Yeah. I think it's fair, but I was still pretty surprised. I was like, surely the Manning name will get him in, and it didn't. And if you had money, I said this yesterday on Facebook, I think, if you had money on the Sharp brothers being the first brothers being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and not the Manning brothers, you made some serious money.
Yeah, that's and I do think they deserve it. I think Sterling Sharp is like a perfect, like Luke Kuechly should have got in. Like they both had just very dominant.
Well, Sterling Sharp had been on the ballot for 20, however long you are as a modern day finalist, 20 or 25 years. And then he got off that and he got in as a senior finalist. So that's what I mean. Like they usually make you wait.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if there were others. Kuechly, I wasn't surprised. Didn't get in. Jared Allen. Terrell Suggs was one I was shocked didn't get in.
Oh yeah, Terrell Suggs is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think
the dude is top 8 in career sacks. I think he's number 6 all time.
And he has like the team accolades too. I mean, he's like
won
he's
2 Super Bowls now. One of those he was like the 3rd or 4th best edge rusher on the team.
He's still. I mean, he's an all-time Raven. All-time.
I believe he won Defensive Player of the Year one year.
He'll get it next year. He
will, but I was just shocked. So we talked about that. Let's talk about our boy Josh Allen winning MVP.
Yeah. I kind of said towards the end of the season, I was on Josh all season. At the end, like when I really looked at Lamar's numbers, I was like, okay, like I'd be fine with him giving it to Lamar. And to be honest with you, I pretty much thought they were going to give it to Lamar. I thought that was like kind of a done deal. So when I woke up to Josh Allen MVP, I was kind of hype. I said this, and obviously this isn't what they did. I think the voting was already in by now. But like what I was like, whoever wins this playoff game is the MVP in my eyes, and the Bills won. So I think a lot of people are, Mickey. It's like, dude, the same thing happened last year. Like Ravens fans can't be that pissed. The same thing happened last year. Like
I wonder if it was somewhat Lamar fatigue, like. He's already won 2, and he has his blunders in his career. I like Lamar, but I wonder if the voters were like, wait a minute, are we really going to give this dude a 3rd?
I
Third
don't.
MVP,
I
really?
think that's fair. I think that's very fair, but I also think that like it came down to like 50-50, and I think they just gave it to the guy who they thought had the worst team. You know what I mean? Like Josh Allen just won more games with, in their eyes, I think, a worse team. And this is what I've been saying this for like 3 years now. I don't like that they call it the MVP because there's so much room for it's like it's pretty ambiguous, honestly. Like, what does value mean to you? And I don't like that because then people can always do this. I think it should just be most outstanding player. If they did that, honestly, Lamar probably would have won this year, but that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But the way I look at it, and I don't feel bad for Lamar in this sense, just for this MVP. If you beat the Raiders and the Browns, you're the MVP. If you won those 2 games, you would have won the MVP pretty easily, actually.
Oh, you mean early in the season?
Yeah, like he lost to Gardner Minshew at home. I was here. I was watching the game here when it happened. Like, they were sick. They lost. They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter, lost that game. And then, it wasn't really his fault, but they lost to the Jameis Winston Browns. It's like, dude, if you win those 2 games, you're the 2 seed. Maybe you go to the fucking Super Bowl and you would have won the MVP. But I don't feel bad, man. Dak had better counting stats last year, and Lamar won it. So it is what it is.
I don't think numbers exclusively should get you an MVP. No. I was surprised, though. It felt like in November, all the momentum was on Josh Allen's side. And then it felt like it shifted in December, and it felt like Lamar had the momentum. And I can remember having a conversation with my dad when I visited him for Christmas. He was saying something like Lamar's won 2 and he's likely going to get a third, or asking me something like that. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And I said how, like, I mean, if he wins a third, and I wasn't against him getting a third, but I was like, if he gets a third, we're already talking Hall of Fame for him.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And that's why I say, I wonder if the voters were really like, are we really going to do this? Give him a third.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they just went with Josh Allen instead because they didn't really want to give him a third MVP.
I think that's maybe fair. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Lamar. Like you said, I think the momentum kind of switched back over, and like, dude, 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions is
he was MVP. Better this year than he was last year.
I mean, that is bananas. So like, it would have been fine if you won, but if you're asking me who I think was a more valuable player this year, I
think it was Josh Allen.
I do think it was Josh. Yeah,
I agree.
So,
man, a lot of football talk. What else did I say we wanted to talk about?
Coaches.
Oh yeah, let's talk coaching carousel.
Cool.
We don't have to go through every single one.
Yeah.
I think we would both probably agree that the Patriots made the biggest move by getting Mike Vrabel.
This is how it's almost like I kind of look at like the coaching carousel a lot of times, like the draft. It's like you can give your strong opinion on who you think did well, but like you're just not going to. I mean, Ben Johnson might be the next Sean McVay, or he might suck. You know what I mean?
And I want to touch up on him too.
I actually like retread hires when the guys aren't old as hell. Like the Vrabel hire will work out in New England. Will they win a Super Bowl or whatever? Like, who knows? I mean, all that stuff but they're going to be good. Like, they will be good in a couple years. I like the Liam Cohen hire. I think that's kind of the best that the Jags were going to be able to do, honestly. So I think the Schottenheimer hire was, who knows? That could be a great hire, or it could be as bad as
I don't think that's as bad as some people make it out to be. My only issue is the thought process. Like, you're moving on from McCarthy to just promote one of his assistants.
Exactly. I said that because one of my best friends here is a diehard Cowboys fan, and like I was like, why didn't you guys just keep Mike? Like, he's pretty good.
Exactly.
Like, is he elite? Maybe not. Like, he has elite moments though. Like, Mike's good. Mike. I look at him as almost like an offensive version of Vrabel, where it's like you kind of know you're going to be good. Like,
I'm a Packers fan. I love Mike McCarthy. He needs a better publicist.
Yeah.
Like, everyone acts like he's some village idiot.
Dude, him and Sean Payton have the same resume.
Yes, they do. And I was really pounding the table last year that McCarthy was better because, Peyton was only in year 1 in Denver, but it wasn't great. Yeah. And I was like, McCarthy's a better coach. Now I can't really say that because he's taken Denver to the postseason and things look good there with Bo Nix. But again, like you said, they have the exact same resume. And we talk about Sean Payton like he's this great, top 5 head coach, which he's not. And then we act like, not me, but other people act like Mike McCarthy's some village idiot, and he's not.
You want to know whose fault I think that is?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
Like, maybe Aaron Rodgers was that much smarter. I can believe, like, prime Aaron Rodgers is like, dude, I know more than you, even if you're good. Like, maybe that was the case, but like, he did pretty much publicly call him a dumbass, and I think that's kind of stuck with him ever since.
I think he fell on the sword in Green Bay.
Yeah.
I really do. I've always said I think Rodgers took a dive in 2018 to get rid of McCarthy.
Dude, Dallas is obviously they have their playoff blunders, but that's not his fault. That's been there. Like, dude, Dallas is a tough out with him as head coach. Like, maybe
are we going to sit here and like if you're going to sit here and tell me that Aaron Rodgers carried Mike McCarthy? Okay, I can buy that. But then what do you explain Dallas?
Exactly. I agree. Dude, I totally get. And the fact that, like, no one hired him this cycle, maybe he did want to take a year off because he didn't get, like, maybe he had one job in mind. He didn't get it, Chicago or something.
It's rare to have a coach get 3 tenures at 3 different teams. But I think if you're a team out there like the Raiders did with Pete Carroll, why wouldn't you hire Mike McCarthy?
Why wouldn't you hire Mike over Pete? I would hire Mike over Pete.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I actually really like the Pete Carroll made by the Raiders, and I want to talk about that. Well, the Raiders needed a culture change, and I think Pete Carroll's going to do that.
I think, obviously, like, and I feel like this way about Mike, Pete Carroll, like, you're at a floor. Like, you're not going to be a bottom-out team because they know what the hell they're doing, but, like, I just don't know if they have the juice to put you over. But, like, the Raiders don't need that anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
they just needed.
They don't need it at all.
Someone competent, like an adult in the room, and Pete Carroll's going to do that. I think
they want to go 500, bro, or you can't anymore. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what they want. That's their step they got to take. So Pete Carroll.
And if you want to be, that's why I thought like the Bears would have hated getting Mike McCarthy. I think just because he coached the Packers, but you're a team that you would kill to make the playoffs. Like Dallas has done for 3 or 4 years in a row, like the Packers did for so many years in a row. The Bears would kill for that. And you're really going to spit on Mike McCarthy, look down on Mike McCarthy. It doesn't make any sense. And I do want to touch up on Ben Johnson now. I was really high on him. We both said this once he went to the Bears. When that move was announced, I was like, I felt like that episode of Seinfeld where he's dating that girl. He loves her. And her friends are like, it's so great. You're like it's charity that he's going out with her, and his friends hate her. And he's like, I don't get what's wrong with her. And then he introduces her to his parents, and his parents love her. And then Seinfeld's like, well, now I'm not so sure that I should like her. So when Ben Johnson, who I was high on for 3 years now, ends up with the Bears, I was like, now I'm not so sure you know what you're doing.
It's just the thing about it is, it's like teams have went that elite coordinator route 1,000 times, and sometimes it works out, but a lot of times it doesn't. So, we'll see. We know that he can call plays, which is great, but does he have like the charisma of like a Sean McVay? Is he as, does he have like the pedigree of like a Shanahan? I don't know. I don't see it when I see him like talk. I don't really see it. But we'll see. They do have a decent team.
I'll tell you one thing. LaFleur didn't have it when he showed up in Green Bay.
That
dude was not media trained. He did not act like he knew, he didn't feel like a fit for the job. He felt like he was just a coordinator, not a good public speaker. Yeah. And they've gotten him with the right people, and now look at him. So, and obviously he clearly knew what he was doing, but.
So we'll see if he can build a staff and everything. I do think that's good for Caleb Williams in particular. I do think he's going to teach him to get the fucking ball out of his hands instead of just, doing Jalen Hurts times 10. And
Detroit's offense, especially it felt like this year, was just almost just check down after check down after check down, or like an HB angle.
And that's personnel. If you really think about it, and then they have Jameis Williams to like keep the defense honest. I think they'll be okay, but it's just like they're not going to compete in that division, in my opinion. The Packers are the Packers. They're always going to be there. Detroit will take a step back, but they'll still be really good. And then Kevin O'Connell's a dog, man. Like, it looks like the Vikings are going to be at least decent every year. So I don't give him enough credit. I think it's just because he coaches the Vikings, but he's good. He just won Coach of the Year. He's good.
I know.
I think he deserved that, by the way. He won all those games with Sam Darnold. I think it's fair. So.
That's a fair assessment, but I don't like him being in the same conversation with some of the top coaches in the league.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we touched up on all of it. Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think Liam Cohen might be an underrated move. I think the Raiders getting Pete Carroll was shocking, but also like I completely get it, and I think it's going to work. What's New Orleans doing?
They're going to hire Kellen Moore. It looks like
I would hope so at this point. I haven't heard a peep from them.
Just to go back to the Liam Cohen thing, like look what he did with Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, Todd Bowles.
His roots are with McVay.
Dude, Todd Bowles didn't do any of that. So that Baker resurgence was Liam Cohen. And listen, maybe he's
Dave
a guy.
Canales was there last year, so you got to factor him in, who's now the head coach at Carolina.
True, but didn't he throw 40 touchdowns this year?
He was better this year than he was last year, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, dude, I don't even think they care about wins right now. I think they're like, can you fix Trevor Lawrence, please? Like, we thought we were getting a top 5 guy, and like he sucks. Like, can you make him good? And I think he will. I think Trevor Lawrence will have a resurgence next year.
I hope. I like Trevor Lawrence. I hope it works out.
Me too.
Was there another thing we were supposed to talk about?
I think you wanted to talk about Rich Rod. I don't have.
Yeah, I did. Let me go through.
I definitely have some comments. So.
Let me go through our text again.
Anything's better than.
Yeah, we did. We've touched up on everything, and we're approaching an hour. So let's do Rich Rod. This is long overdue. We're in beginning of February. Rich Rod was hired at the beginning of December.
I know you didn't like it.
Oh, I really hated it. So when we moved on from Neil Brown, I was so excited. And then as that next week progressed, it became clear by like Wednesday or Thursday it was going to be Rich Rod. And I was like, please no, please tell me not. It's not going to be like, it's not going to go this way. And then it did. And I was really hard on him that during that process and leading up to like his introductory press conference. And I remember, I do want to talk about this. I remember the day Neil Brown was fired, and there were fans clamoring for Rich Rod. And that's when it kind of started with me being hard on him. And my buddy, my old high school teammate, DM'd me on Twitter saying like, hey dude, I'm going to need you to take it easy on Rich Rod. And I knew he was in coaching. I didn't know where. I thought he was at Jackson State where Dion was before Colorado. And then I looked at his profile. I was like, oh shit, he works for Rich Rod at Jacksonville State. And we sent a couple DMs, and when they officially announced that Rich Rod was coming back, I made a comment. I quote tweeted it and said, where's the cyanide? And my friend DM'd me and said, dude, I'm going to have to unfollow you after that, which I get. Like he works for the guy. And now he's come to WVU. Like he has since followed me back, but he can't be associated with me after some of the things I've said. So I get it.
You're going to get him caught up. I was just, honestly, man, I was just desperate for change. I understand. I don't think Rich Rod puts us over the top. I like you, don't like kind of like going back to like
I hate going
glory
back.
days.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But I think we're in a very similar position to like the Raiders, where it's just like, dude, we kind of just got to like right the ship and become a legitimate program again. And then we can kind of worry about taking that next step. We're so far from even being relevant. It's like, let's get relevant again, and then we can go from there.
And to be fair, like, look at the rest of the coaching hires in college, this carousel.
Not great.
North Carolina was the best job, and they went with Bill Belichick. It just wasn't a very strong pool. UCF went backwards and hired Scott Frost. So it happened everywhere. No one really had an impressive coaching hire, in my opinion. Super impressive coaching hire, in my opinion.
I do like that and maybe you can correct me on this because you know I'm not as well versed in college football as you. I do like that he is coming from Florida and has probably been doing a lot of recruiting down there.
Jacksonville State's in Alabama.
Is it?
Yes. It's in, I think there's a Jacksonville, Alabama. It's out near.
Get the hell out of here. I never knew that. Because I was going to say, like, those, like, the Geno teams, like, we just had Florida guys everywhere. And they were, like, maybe they weren't NFL guys, but they were all fast and good. And, like, I don't know what happened.
Jacksonville, Alabama. I knew there. I knew it was in Alabama, out in eastern Alabama toward Georgia.
I'm an idiot. Never mind. Ignore me.
Yeah, Anniston. I was gonna say Aniana. Anniston was the city I was thinking of. It's out toward eastern Alabama, heading to Georgia. Middle of nowhere. Like, I'm dead serious. Middle of nowhere.
Shocked.
Not too dissimilar to when we hired Neil Brown, who was from Troy, middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Texas, right? Troy's in Texas, right?
Troy is in Alabama.
Damn, I'm an idiot. Let's.
Troy is in Alabama.
It's in southern Alabama,
middle of nowhere. Toward Florida. It's kind of down that way. There are a couple things I do want to talk about with Rich Rod. As much as I don't like this move, I don't think it's going to be a disaster. Like, Neil Brown was a disaster. It was 4 losing seasons and 6 seasons. I don't think it's going to be that with Rich Rod. What I think it's going to be with Rich Rod is more or less what Dana was.
Yeah.
7-8 wins.
Yes.
Maybe get a big win every other year, maybe every year. Somewhat competitive.
We were fun.
Yeah. But I think a lot of fans, and I've seen this, are like posting highlight clips when he was first here with Pat White and thinking like, this is the last time Rich Rodriguez was head coach. This is what WVU football was. And I was like, no, you need to temper these expectations.
Everything's different now. Even if he was still that good, like, college football is just different now. So we're still not like, we're not going to have a national championship squad.
That was a like once in a lifetime experience for a school like West Virginia. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like it. Not that we can't be competitive.
Yeah.
But like, we're not going to go a 5-year stretch where we're a top 5 team in the country. It's not going to happen.
No.
We could be that like every 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Which is all I want. That's fair. Like, could we make like one playoff every 10 years?
Yes.
Like, till I die? Could we just do that? Like, win the Big 12 one fucking time? Like, that's fair. Like,
I'll just settle for getting to Arlington at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a disaster. And I will say this, you know, my objection to Rich Rod, everyone's like, my brother in particular, my brother wanted to bring him back, and he was too young. 2007, I was 15. I can remember when he left and everything that happened. My brother was 11. He was too young. So he was all for it. And I'm like, I was like absolutely against it. But him leaving the first time and stabbing us in the back in 2007,
tough.
That was like my 4th issue with him. Like, my biggest issue is he just hasn't replicated the success that he had at WVU.
Not even close. In fact, he's objectively taking steps backwards. I mean,
well, he's still been a little competitive. Like, he went to Michigan. He was never a fit for that job.
No.
But if you look at what happened, they got better every year he was there in the win column, and they fired him after 3 years, probably rightfully so. And then the next year with his players, transfer portal didn't exist. Brady fucking Hoke takes them to a Sugar Bowl and wins like 11 games. I personally do think Michigan fired Rich Rod a year too early, but he was likely never going to be a fit there, and they were going to push him out anyway. So back against the wall, he goes to Arizona and has some success at Arizona, wins 8 games just about every year.
Which is a bad
gets
program.
Gets to a Pac-12 championship, gets to a Fiesta Bowl. Like, okay, and then it comes downhill because he gets in trouble hooking up with cheerleaders, and it's a mess. And
We're so back.
So then he goes and is a coordinator. No, he's radioactive. No one will touch him. And then Jacksonville State takes a chance on him, and he does okay there. He wins, I think, 9 games every year, and even when they transition from FCS to FBS. So
it's a step forward, man. I don't care. Like, compared to what we were, we're gonna have a better team.
We're gonna be better. I am confident in that. We're gonna be better under Rich Rod than we are Neil Brown.
Yes.
My issue is all these fans who think we're going back to the days of Pat White need to take a deep breath. It's not going to happen.
I agree.
But I'm with y'all. We're going to be probably fun to watch at a minimum.
That's all I need. Like, make me excited.
And I do one more thing. I know that I'm going on long here.
No,
but I'm more of the diehard fan than you are, and you'll admit that.
Of course.
I do think he's genuine. I still haven't watched his introductory press conference. I haven't been in the mood to watch it. I do think he's genuine when he says, like, I never should have left in 2007. I have really hoped to get this opportunity back. I want to make amends. I do believe him when he says that.
I do too.
But I do.
I think that actually plays into West Virginia's hand there, that like almost like a, you kind of owe us, dude. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, we'll give you the support here. Hopefully we can.
And I don't have, like, in hindsight, I don't have a problem with the way, or I don't have a problem that he left for a better job. Michigan is a better job.
Yeah.
The problem is the way he left.
Yeah.
If he had come out and had a press conference or something and said, hey, I just can't pass up this opportunity. It's the best opportunity for me and my family. Like, I'm so appreciative of West Virginia. I love you guys so much. We would have been so forgiving and just been like, we don't like this, but we get it.
Yeah. I agree.
And he didn't do that. He slunk out the back door in the middle of the night. We wake up on Saturday or Sunday, and he's in Ann Arbor about to be introduced as Michigan's head coach. then
kind of an alpha
next
move.
thing you know, he's back in our facility shredding documents because he had broken some NCAA violations for practice time, whatever.
Oh, dude, I'm in. Like, we're so back. we're so back. We need a
so then you have all that. The university sues him because he won't pay his buyout, so he sues the university. It was a huge mess. Around the same time, West Virginia gets in trouble because the CEO of Mylan Pharmaceuticals, by the name of, I think her name is Heather Bresch, daughter of Governor Joe Manchin, gets in trouble. I don't know if you know this story, because the university gave her a degree that she did not earn. Wow. And didn't have the credits for, but because she was the governor's daughter, she got it. So you have all that going on around the same time in 2007.
I didn't know.
And the university kind of swept all of it under the rug, because around that time we brought Bob Huggins back and said, yeah, but look, we brought Bob Huggins back, and the fan base was like, okay. Okay, we'll overlook everything else.
Didn't we hit a Final Four like a couple years after that too?
Yeah, 2010 Final Four.
Yep.
And I love Bob Huggins, and I love Darren DeVries. But I think this team is falling apart, though. But
I like where we're at, though. I think we're in
a really good spot. Just we knew this team. Yeah, we knew this team probably wasn't going to be that good. We've had a ton of injuries. We don't have much depth. Year one after what he inherited, it's fine. I don't care if we make the tournament. If we finish with a winning record at this point, I'll be satisfied. So anyway, we've gone on long enough. Unless you want to talk the Luka Doncic trade.
Can I pee real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I've been waiting to piss for like 2 minutes.
So that's a cue that we're going on too long. So it's been about a week since the Luka Doncic trade. I honestly don't even follow basketball that closely, but that has to be the biggest move that I've seen in quite some time. You rarely see guys like that moved, especially at the trade deadline. You more likely to see moves like that in the offseason. Oh, thank God you're back. I hate doing that by myself.
Shane, I found out about that trade, not like through a Bleacher Report. I was just scrolling TikTok, and I don't know if you have TikTok, but every once in a while, just like basically a video that just got posted of literally 2 seconds ago got posted. It was a little boy literally crying that Luka Doncic got traded. I just scrolled and it was there, and I was like, Luka didn't get traded. And then I went to Twitter and I'm like, so terrible trade. There's something there that we don't know. Obviously. Very obvious.
Like I was saying, you never see guys like this moved at the trade deadline in the middle of the season.
I mean, dude, he's going to be an all-time great. Somebody doesn't like somebody. Dude, and hold on. There's something weird going on there anyway, because Mark Cuban sold his way out of the Mavs. Mm-hmm. And then
he became a sellout to help Kamala Harris.
Yes, but that even beside, what's going on over there? What's going on over there?
I think the ownership, I don't know. I don't know enough about basketball. I don't know if I don't think either of us do. But clearly something weird with the ownership. I've heard that they want to use it. I've heard they want a casino in Dallas because they have some sort of casino background, and Texas doesn't have casinos, and they want one there in Dallas. And if they're this Luka move is some way to catapult into Vegas, I don't know. But first of all, I don't see that happening. The NBA wants to have a footprint in Vegas. I firmly believe that, but not at the expense of a Dallas franchise.
Which isn't, it's not, it's not like Dallas is like the Jazz or something. Like, they're legit,
exactly.
Like, they have a legit fan base down there. And
it's the 5th or 6th in terms of metro population, the 5th or 6th biggest market in the country.
That's what I'm saying. And I just, I think that's just a bad move. Even if there was some turmoil in the organization, you get over it. Because this is the NBA. And if it's the NFL, it's not as shocking because it's like, whatever. Like, maybe this guy was a problem and he's really good, but we wanted him out. And you can't do that in basketball, man. Like, you'll probably never find another Luka Doncic. Like, you just probably won't find that guy again. So I hate that move.
It just doesn't make any sense. And the return wasn't very good. The only thing that really makes sense is if, like, that's just where he wanted to go. You know what I mean? Like, you see that from time to time.
I mean, dude, there was obvious collusion. The other owners are pissed. They're like, I would have given you 10 times more for him. Like, why did you?
I think there was one phone call made and one offer accepted.
Adam Silver let that get, like, he's trying to get some credence back with the league. So he's trying to. That's the biggest move I guess they could think of. So, because the NBA is just going downhill right now. So hopefully it helps.
I don't think it'll do much to help the NBA, but weird situation. These conspiracy theories are just weird with the NBA with this move, and you just don't. I think it's moves like this.
I do think it's pretty obvious there's something happened that we don't know about yet. Like, it'll obviously come out at some point, but it's just like their reasoning, like, oh, he was a little overweight, which I call Luka fat all the time, and I don't like Luka because he is fat, but like, it's still Luka, bro. Like, what, you're going to trade him because he doesn't lose?
He's a top 3 player in the league.
I'm saying, like, okay, like, I would be like, I'll eat whatever I want. Fuck you. Like, so I don't know.
Just weird. I don't know if he didn't want to be there, if the new ownership didn't want him there.
He was pretty shocked. And again, maybe that's bullshit, but like, like the way he's reacting to it, it seems like it wasn't like, oh, I want to get out of here, trade me. It seems like they were like, no, we want you out of here. We're going to trade you, which is so fucking stupid. Like,
it is stupid.
I mean, dude, that's like
you don't get those guys back.
That's like trading like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson.
I know.
It really is.
Like, it's different when you're Aaron Rodgers and you're older and over the hill.
This dude's in his prime.
This is trading Patrick Mahomes, you said, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, in the middle of their, like, before they've even reached their prime.
Yeah, it
doesn't make any sense. You're not going to get this dude back. Like, a player, likely not a player like that back.
Dude, they got him at the 3rd pick. Like, they lucked into him in the first place. Like, you're not getting that back.
And they traded for him.
Yeah.
I believe they. Yeah, because they had a later pick. I'm pretty sure.
I thought they were 3rd the whole time. I could be wrong.
It was a trade. I know that much.
But I mean, either way, you still, because like, obviously
it was a Trae Young Doncic swap.
Oh, okay.
It was something like that. And Atlanta maybe had the later pick, and Dallas had the earlier pick. And it was, hey, if you take Trae Young here, we'll take Doncic here, and we'll swap. And we'll give you a couple extra something for it.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it works out for him, Chet. I don't
weird.
like it.
I don't follow the NBA that closely, which I should because I'm a Celtics fan. But I got that alert. I was like, no fucking way they just traded Doncic. It was a week ago. It was like midnight my time here in Texas. I was like, no fucking way. And then it was kind of a stretch where it was like, did they? Didn't they? And I woke up the next morning and it was official, I think. Or I fell asleep on my couch, woke up at 4 a.m. and then it was official. But just weird situation. I do want to see the details that come out.
I think his debut is Monday. I want to see how he plays. So
I saw a tweet. I don't think I sent it to you, but it was like the 77 Lakers jerseys are going to be sold out among, like, you're going to see them at so many frat houses across the country.
100%. Which by the way, hate 77. Like, why are you wearing that number? But
weird number. All right, so I think that's it. Good podcast. Next week we need to do a Super Bowl recap and then like maybe a mock draft.
Hopefully
I'm doing a mock draft right now. I'm in the process of writing it out. I have 10 more to do, and then tomorrow will be the last 2 picks depending on the outcome of the game, and then It's a 3-rounder. So then I just do, pick players for the other 2 rounds. But we should do our own mock draft here coming up. I know you need to do some homework, though. We both do on the draft.
That's my favorite. Like, outside of actual football season, there's nothing better than draft.
We went to Philly for the draft in 2017. Yeah. We need to try to go to Green Bay this year. It's going to be hard, but
if we do it, like, the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year, by the way. So that might be your year.
I know. I need to think about it. I don't make enough money to.
Me neither right now, buddy. I'm broke, so.
All right, my man. It's always good talking to you. Good luck to your Birds. I will be cheering for the Birds.
Go Birds!
I'm not saying it back, but I'll give you a good call. Call!
All right, buddy.
All right, my man.